More TIG welding. I tried my hand at aluminium. It was not very good. It's very, very different to steel in that it conducts the heat a lot better. I think that's the main factor anyway. Once I got the aluminium clean, that is. If it's dirty, yeah, don't even bother. I was thinking this looks pretty clean, but no, it had a massively thick oxide layer that sort of popped off and floated around on the puddle and made a huge bum of it. But yeah, I got the hang of it eventually, sort of. But yeah, feeding the filler in. I've only got this massive like 3mm filler, which is a bit of a pain in the bum when I'm like this stuff is this metal. It's only like 2.5mm thick, so that's a bit of a fiddle. There's some stuff I ground over. But I did weld in the corner here. That is perfectly functional. I've just gone over this with a wire brush, but you know, it'll hold this metal together. The back side of it is not worth looking at. So then I tried my hand at some very, very thin steel. So this is 0.5mm thick steel. So that weld I did laying flat on the table. This is a ring now, but I just did a butt weld on the table, and I blew through at the start and end, but in the middle, like as long as I kept it steady, I ended up with a pretty nice result. And this is like just barely touching the pedal on a very, very low amp setting. I was like putting like 10 amps into it, 5 amps, if that. I then rolled it into a ring and then tried to do this side, but it was way harder because they didn't meet precisely. There was like a maybe 0.5mm gap, if that, less than that, 1/4mm gap, and that was enough for the surface tension to act against me rather than for me. So the sort of bead would form on each side of the weld and they'd sort of roll apart from each other, and it's very hard to tease them back together. And at this point I tried adding some filler rod, but my filler rod is too much for this. I was able to keep up with it, but again I got to the end here and it went plarg. So I need to be better at tapering up and down my power. After that I cut some more. That's the back side. And I tried a longer weld to see if I could get the consistency, and you know, I'm relatively happy with that. That's where my clamp was, so I welded in from there to that point and welded from there to there, and you know, it's not the end of the world. It's very strong. I only ran the edge of this through the wire wheel to get it weldable, so all this scum you see here is just like oil and dirt and stuff burning off. I don't think that's oxide steel. And the back side, you can see molten metal on it, which means the weld penetrated all the way through, which is great. And you see there, it didn't quite penetrate all the way through, which is less than ideal. But all along here the weld came all the way through, which is lovely. Okay, bye bye.